Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Jim's Records podcast. Yet another wonderful edition coming to you from my kitchen here. And I have, not quite in the kitchen, but close by, the guest for the show. I've known him back from my college radio days when I was playing heavy metal records back at a little crap radio station. And he was one of the promo people. He was very cool, and he's going on to do so many other wonderful things. Mr. Mike Schnapp, Uncle Mike Schnapp.
DJ Uncle Mike.
How you doing? Oh, DJ Uncle Mike.
That's the brand, yeah.
That's all right. That works. Unfortunately, probably not a lot of DJing lately for you, huh?
No, well, DJing involves getting together with people that are gathered socially to play music for them to enhance their time where I'm playing the music as they're gathering socially. And so, right now, end of July 2020, just so we have where we are right now, social gathering is not allowed in the kingdom.
No. No.
Yes, so we were all, socially ungathered and socially dispersed.
Yeah.
Music still exists, and I got to say that music is a very important part of this whole strange story of being socially ungathered, because when you can't be with your friends, you could be with your music that you love, and the music that you love is really your best friend. And if you're music heads like I know I am, and I know Jim is, music is so important to our well-being, our happiness, that we can't live without it. No doubt about it, can't live without it. Gangrene said, but not alcohol, music. And so while we're out there, sort of away from our friends or family or jobs or hobbies, and we're sort of shut in a strange way, we do have our music handy. I have my turntable right over here.
That's right.
And I got my records over here. You kids, they're records.
Mm.
And I got my music tchotchkes, like my big Rolling Stone tongue from their 1989 tour. And I have my music books up there on the shelf.
Yeah.
And I have some gold records and big records on the wall. And music.
Were those awards that were made out to you?
Yes. In fact, I'll show you a couple.
Just a little tour.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the podcast, is it video also, right?
Oh, yeah, we're video.
Oh, it is? Okay. So, yeah, my mom bought me this big Bruce Springsteen record one time. Yeah. And let me see. Here's an Iron Maiden gold record.
Oh, nice.
And here's an Ozzy Osbourne platinum record.
Ooh.
And here's some Fun Lovin' Criminals gold records. And let me see. Here's these two things. There's the Lemmy 70th birthday party thing and a Slayer backstage passes thing. And up there is autographed Pearl Jam deck of cards. And over here is a thing that I took a bunch of backstage sticky passes and I put them in a frame.
Sure. What guitar is that hanging up there? Was that someone's guitar?
Nah, nobody's guitar. Just a random guitar that I had that I just hung on the wall. I thought it looked cool.
Yeah, nice. Stratocaster is always nice.
Yeah, my first platinum record, Firehouse. Here's a poster. Here's a poster from Das Fest in 1999. I was on tour with the Fun Lovin' Criminals. Let me see what's up here. The Singles soundtrack, the movie Singles. I was at Epic Records and we promoted their soundtrack, and another soundtrack record, Judgment Night.
Oh, yeah.
And then what's down here? A Beastie Boys basketball, ABA basketball.
Wow, that's cool.
That's a promotional item. And then a poster when I went to DJ in Brazil, because I've DJ'd around the world, and I've been fortunate enough that people have actually asked me to DJ in places other than New York City. And
Yeah. So what's it like DJing in other parts of the world? Do you have to lug all the records over, or you usually using what's available there, or?
well, so first off, we'll go with what you're asking is how do you get your music collection to where you're DJing? And years ago, it was really and I've only DJed for about, let's say, 20 years or 18 years, something like that. And when I was DJing, it was sort of I was playing vinyl and playing CDs and cassette every once in a while. Interesting.
Sure.
And so you put a couple of milk crates together and you bring it over and you play it on the venue's sound system, and that's that. And then I started putting together in the early 2000s a digital collection of the music that I had. Not really the vinyl, but any CDs that I had, I ripped them, and now I had a digital thing. And then
Sure.
for the next 2 or 3 years, every house that I visited, oh, you got some CDs? And I would bring my computer and I would suck them in. And I would suck them in, suck them in, suck them in. And I would, download all these things. So I built up, a bunch of music digitally. And
Yeah.
then over the years, between getting it from friends and buying it and, that sort of thing, actually buying music, you put together a digital collection. And I started DJing digitally in, I think it was 2002.
No, you were just cutting edge back then.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I DJ'd was filling in for Jimmy G from Murphy's Law at the Z Bar in the basement on Avenue A in New York, and I think in 1997. And I brought records and I brought CDs. He went on tour for 3 weeks. I went in there and played a bunch of stuff, a bunch of rock and a bunch of reggae, and did that. Then I used to go and see, in the early 90s, I used to go see a guy named Steve Blush, who wrote American Hardcore, American Hair Metal, Lost Rockers, a couple of cool books. He used to DJ in a few places, and I used to go see him DJ. And I used to basically sit in back of him and watch him DJ. And the way to learn is eyes open and mouth shut. And I would sit and watch him play, and he would put a record on, cue it up, and play it. And then he would go put another record on the other turntable, and he'd cue it up, and he would play it. And we'd go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I would just watch this. I would sit there and I would smoke pot and pass the joint to him, but I never would ask him, "What are you doing there? How are you doing that?" It just was like I was just psyched watching this guy play music, listening to him play cool music, watching the audience react. And he was playing all kinds of stuff. He played at this one place, was on the corner of, it was on 14th Street and 3rd Avenue, Light Lounge, Carmelitas. It's on a Monday, like from 11 o'clock on, and he would play. It was I think above it was a Spanish or Latin dance hall where you'd rent, if you want to have a wedding, you would do that. It had all this like stucco on the ceiling and red velvet and everything. And then supposedly above it was a whorehouse. And we were in there, and these guys were promoting a club night in New York in the early 90s. And I would go every Monday. Carlo was doing the door. Stacy was promoting it. Blush would DJ. And I was having the best time just listening to Steve Blush's great music mix. This place was also a fire hazard, because as all those buildings were back down there, they were not built for, a few hundred people dancing and jumping up and down. So at some point, Steve's playing this great music, people are dancing, the floor is going up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, the turntables are there, and the needle keeps bouncing up and down, up and down.
Oh
So
my God.
he's putting a nickel, a dime on the on the stylus, then a nickel, then a quarter, trying to weigh it down. So, and at some point it was like really a hazard. We're like, this whole thing could just sort of collapse, and we could all go with it.
Yeah.
So the funniest thing ever was him playing. This is like late 80s, early 90s, and he's playing this, nice dance music. He's not playing heavy, angry stuff. This is not a mosh pit. This is not heavy metal night. It's not hardcore night. He's playing, Delight. He's playing old disco and new wave and whatever mix he's playing, but it certainly wasn't a heavy metal night. And at some point he looks out of the crowd and realizes and feels this place is going up and it could like split it. We could all die. So I remember one night he puts on Slayer, Hell Awaits, out of nowhere. And this hipster, downtown, clubby music crowd, everyone's dancing and everyone's dancing. And all of a sudden that Slayer sort of comes in slowly. Join us. And it's evil and it's like, and to watch the entire crowd, instead of them dancing, they all just sort of stopped and they all walked over to the bar to get a drink. And that was, I thought it was a really genius way to make sure that we didn't die, the building didn't collapse, and the needle wasn't jumping. And then after that song, he'd go back to playing dancey music, and slowly the dance floor would fill, and he would do that trick with some other record. But it was really genius.
Yeah.
It was really genius. So that's how I sort of learned how to DJ. You know, I was like watching someone else, you do it, and then all of a sudden not having a job, because I worked all these great jobs at record companies, being involved with all this great music and all these great people that I worked with. You know, it just was amazing, an amazing journey I've had, and I'm lucky to be involved with amazing bands, amazing artists, amazing records, amazing people that are working there, amazing journalists that are playing the music or writing about it, and being able to travel all over the place. And, you know, it was a whole lot of fun. And then all of a sudden that ends, because like in general, you know, as you get older, you realize things don't last forever. And one day you're in some office with a phone and a gold record on the wall, and you're signing bands. And the next day they call you into the president's office and says, your contract's up, you're fired, we're not going to renew it. And don't pay attention to these guys that follow you back to your office, who are like wearing suits and have guns on them, and they're the security guards, and they're going to make sure that you don't freak out, because you know, you go from being a vice president of A&R and a vice president of rock to not working, and to grasp that in the next couple hours, clean your office out, get out. You know, some people have done really bad things, and they've, you know, destroyed and hurt people and taken dumps on the conference room desk and all that stuff. And me, I just walked around and said goodbye to everyone. I said, hey, they're letting me go. Don't mind the guy with the gun in back of me. He's just making sure I don't kill anybody. And then that was it, and I was done. And the next thing you know, I'm driving a van with Murphy's Law as the roadie, and you know, driving up to Albany and you know, being their driver, a punk rock driver. So we go from one thing to another.
Sure.
And then at some point I was on tour with the Fallen Criminals, and I toured with the Sex Pistols for a minute, and you know, did a few different tours. Oasis. I was doing a little bit of everything. Usually like tour promotion, sometimes merchandising, sometimes just a driver. Depends which band.
Whatever they need done.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I sort of fell ass backward into DJing. You know, as we do in our lives with things, sometimes, you know, you don't grow up and go, I'm going to do that, you know. And I just sort of fell ass backwards into DJing. I was hanging out with Fallen Criminals, Huey, and he was DJing, and then I went and DJed with him. And then we got some gigs DJing. I got DJing with him, and then at some point he was jet lagged, and then only I would show up, and then I did good enough that they were like, "Oh, you're doing all right. You can do this on your own." And next thing you know, I'm DJing for George Clooney at Bungalow 8 in New York. Fancy club, fancy people, and making friends with you know, all kinds of interesting people. Lindsay Lohan hanging out at my DJ booth, and you know, just interesting folks, and playing fun music. And you know, God bless Amy, the owner. She's an incredible musical supporter and incredible generous person, and she sort of gave me the chance to go in there and prove that I could do this, and I did, and she had faith in me and let me do it, and ended up working out for a bunch of years. And so since the early 2000s, about 18 years or so, I've been DJing at various nightclubs, bars, restaurants, concerts opening for people, you know, all kinds of places, and all around the world. If you want to look, I have a list on my DJUncleMike.com website where it says where I've DJ'd with different countries, and I always say it's around the country, around the world, and around the block. You know, so I've done New York, Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island, Jersey, you know, Hamptons, Montauk, down
New
in
Jersey.
I've actually done New Jersey, yeah. You know, I DJ'd Blush's wedding, I think, in Jersey, yeah.
Really?
And weddings are strange, I gotta tell you. It's they're just bizarre to DJ at. But
what's it like to DJ at like a big show where, like, say you're the opener for someone and just watching that huge crowd?
Well, I've not been so I've never been the guy that, like, before an arena crowd, you put the turntables there and there's 10,000 people. That's not me. The concerts that I've opened up for, well, I've DJ'd at the Brooklyn Bowl in Williamsburg for the last 10 years every Saturday. Yeah. So every band that has played on a Saturday, for the most part, I've played right up until from 3 or 4 in the afternoon to 8 or 9, up until the band, unless they have their opening DJ. So I've DJ'd there. I've opened for the Meat Puppets. I've opened up for Toots and the Maytals. I DJ'd out in Las Vegas when the Brooklyn Bowl opened, and I DJ'd opening for the Roots. I DJ'd opening for Elvis Costello and the Roots. So, but I've usually been in the DJ booth, not the guy on stage.
Gotcha.
I've
but
DJ'd
still, what does it feel like to be playing music and know that you're affecting, you know, you're maybe making someone out there, you know, the 20,000 people or however many people it is very happy. You know, what's that like?
It's an honor, because so at some point, any music that I have listened to and I have liked, someone's turned me on to. I'm not some genius that said, this is this great band, let me go find them. It's like, no, you're somewhere and you hear something and it tickles your happy button through your ears and you go, oh, I like this. And then you go chasing it. You try to figure out, who is this? And this is before we had Shazam, where now you hear something, you pull out your phone, you hit Shazam, and it tells you what it is, and you go, cool, now you have the music, which is great. Some people rag on it, you know, oh, that's too easy. No, dude, let me tell you something. Making it easy to figure out what music you like is a blessing, not a curse or an insult. It's great. So God bless Shazam. I hear this. I like it. What is it? Boom. That's what it is. Go out and buy it or add it to your playlist, whatever it is. I spent the whole summer chasing a song in Europe when I was on a teen tour when I was 16. So this summer vacation, parents were lovely enough after sending me to sleepaway camp for a lot of years. I said, I don't want to go to sleepaway camp. I hate baseball. I hate sports. So all these kids are going, there's teen tours. You get to travel. So when I was 16, I went to Europe, 6 weeks. Tour bus with Ford. It's a Greyhound bus in Europe with like 40 people. We went to like all these different cities, and you get there in the morning and overnight, whatever it is. You go see all the tourist things in the morning. You see some tourist things in the afternoon. You do some tourist things in the evening, and then we'd all end up out at some bars. So every night we end up in some bar everywhere in Europe, England and Holland and Germany and France and Spain and Italy. I was, you know, Monaco. I got thrown out of the Grand Casino when I was 16 years old in Monaco.
Hey.
You know why? You know why I got thrown out?
Why?
I was 16 years old. I shouldn't have been there.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that was obvious, but you never know. In Monaco, you know, that's
you never know. And those days, 18 was the drinking age. In Europe, it's even younger. They didn't care. Yeah. So anyway, every night I'm on this teen tour, and every night we go out to a bar, and every night there's some jukebox in the place, and every night I hear this song. It's just like weird sounding song. It was like kind of like a punk rock song, but it was like a foreign language song. So I didn't even know what they're saying. I just sort of, you know, I could mimic the chorus, but what are they? Like, I don't know what they're saying, but it's unbelievable. I love it. It's fucking amazing, you know. And the whole summer I couldn't figure it out, because by the time you get up to the jukebox, you know, the song is gone.
Yeah.
Doesn't have this is what played. I have no Shazam. The bartender didn't speak English, so good luck asking him what was that song. And they're like, "What's that?" Okay, I'm done. I'm done with that. I speak one language averagely, So I ended up getting home the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, and I forgot what it was, but I was in maybe some record store. I think it was like in the in Corvettes or something, or some place where you're in the record department in Macy's or Gimbals, whatever it was. And I figured out what song it was, and I ended up buying the record, and it was a song called "Ça Plaît pour moi"
I
by
was gonna say it's not "C'est Plat
yeah,
pour moi," is
yeah,
it?
it is, it is. And
That was the song that like a billion people said, "What is this song? What is this song?" And
right, so I'm out there with no Shazam in 1978, chasing it around Europe, and every night I heard it, and every night I'm like, "There's that song, there's that song."
Plastic Bertrand.
Yeah, and that was just some weird dude. He did like this weird record, and I think he was Flemish, and supposedly he might not have even played on it, or there's just a lot of controversy. You could look it up.
Yeah.
You can wiki that.
Yeah.
But
And the translation, like people always love to, they say, "Well, what's he saying? What is he saying?" He said, "Sam Plum Plum Moi." It translates to "He gives me head."
no, actually, so what I think is the song it translates to is "This Life's for Me," but Captain Sensible. Is Captain Sensible? No, Elton Motello, who was some other person.
Yeah.
Supposedly the song, the history of the song was like these producers did it, and right before they had him do it in French, they had this guy Elton Motello do it in English. But supposedly, I don't know if it translates, but yeah, he gives me head. It was this weird song. But Plastic Bertrand's version was the hit song in French, and it's just the weirdest thing. So I still love this song. Never gets old. When I DJ, I'll play it every night. Never gets old, man.
It's a classic.
Yeah. So anyway, so going back to DJing, it's like so at some point somebody put the shekel in the jukebox and pressed play that song, and it played, and I liked it, and I chased it for months, and I finally found it, and I still to this day love the song. So if I could play something that goes into someone's ears and presses their happy button, whether they know it or not, I'm turning them on to it for the first time, or it's something that they know that they're going, "Oh, I love that song," and it's been both. I've played songs where people come up and they go, "What is that?" You tell them, go, "Why?" I go, "Oh, I love it. It's great." Or sometimes they're like, "Oh, I can't believe you're playing this song. Why? Why? Oh, because I love it. I've heard it, my whole life, or whatever. My parents turned me on to it, or whatever. Got laid the first time. Believe me, I've heard it all to this song. So if I'm able to DJ and I'm able to turn people on to music, it's like I'm repaying my whole life back to anybody or anything that's ever played music for me to tickle my head and to be happy. So that's really what it is. It's sort of an honor to be, there and play. So I've been able to play all around the world, and so New York, Florida. I've done Austin, Texas. I've done California. I've done Las Vegas. I've been in Europe. I've done it in Spain, in Ireland, in England.
Have you done Dubai yet?
No, I have not done Dubai. I've never been asked. That's more, I don't know what that is. That whole scene is a little.
It'll happen. You wait. You don't be surprised.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
But where else? I've been in Brazil. Was able to spin in Brazil. Was there for 10 days and spun a couple of parties. And I actually got flown to Vietnam in 2009 and DJ for 2 different parties. I stayed there for 2 weeks, played 2 nights, hung out in central Vietnam. And that was interesting because so I get to Vietnam, and like you were asking, how do you bring your records? So I was really concerned. What am I doing? So I have 2 computers. They both have my music library digitally. And I went and I bought a mixer, DJ mixer, that I know I could take the computer and I could plug it into the mixer, and then I could interface with these new technical revelations, and they basically let you play your musical library through the computer, through the DJ mixer, out through the speakers to the audience, and also use turntables to sort of mimic the way that you would play music as if you were playing vinyl. So there's all this technology, Rain, Serato, all these different DJ programs. So I went over there with my mixing board in a backpack with bubble wrap on it, real pro mix, real pro thing. But anyway, made it there and back, and it lasts for like 10 years. And had my computers in my knapsacks. I had a knapsack worth of music and tech. And we get to I get to the hotel I'm staying in, and I'm like, let's go to the town right away. Why? I want to go to the sound company, and I want to just make sure that everything's in order, because if it isn't, we're going to have to get everything together and call and get things shipped. So I go there, and Mr. Duck, who's the guy with the sound company with this old rickety truck with the musical notes on the side, and I show him my mixer, and he goes, like, nice to meet you, and he doesn't know English. So nobody there speaks English. I mean, it's, you're in a foreign country, and so we're in New York. Sometimes you could get over with a couple of words of Spain or German or this or that. Vietnamese, it's not, no connection, man. It is an alien form of language.
Oh yeah.
Loveliest people, wonderful people, nice people. So you're standing there with another nice person in front of you, shaking hands, bowing, and smiling. So you're like, okay, we're here on the same mission. We're cool. I'm seeing eye to eye. We're cool. I'm here to play music. And so he goes in the back, and he comes out with whatever his gear was with the wires. And we looked and we plugged it in, and I looked and we just smiled. And I'm like, this is going to work. So he's now the guy who's going to come to the beach where I'm playing outside this fancy 5-star hotel. That's way too fancy for me. Way too fancy for me. But they got me like a $700 a night room.
Hey,
and this place is,
you fit right in.
I'll take it. Yeah, no problem. And I'll take it. No problem. And I'll behave. I'll be nice. I'll play well with the other children.
Sure,
and so day of the party comes, and they set up the. There was 2 different parties, but they set up both nights, and they play. Not really play. They bring all the music equipment out from the truck, and they're walking out on the beach, and it's 95 degrees, and it's humid out, and they're sweating, and I say hi to the guys, how you doing? And they're like, and I did thumbs up, and they're like, thumbs up. So I'm realizing, okay, I'm not going to really be talking to these dudes. So there's communicating and there's conversing out there in the world. Communicating is you look at each other, you point at something, you thumbs up, I rub my belly, I smile. They know the food's good, they pat your belly, you giggle. So I've just communicated like, everything's okay. Conversating, there's no way. I'm not having a conversation with them. I'd like to, but I can't, They don't speak English, I don't speak Vietnamese, so it's a wrap. So, but they set everything up, and the time comes for the party, and I start playing music. And I'm playing music, and there's people out on the beach, and they're getting up and they're dancing and they're boogieing around on the sand. And I'm like, well, that's one way of communicating. I'm playing music, and they're communicating back with the fact that they're dancing. That means that they're happy with what I'm playing. And okay, the other way, because I look over and I'm up on this nice little platform they set up, and it's all professional, and I'm like, they really did an amazing job. Like on a plain beach, all of a sudden you got this platform and the turntables and the monitors and the speakers and these flapping cloth in the breeze, and it's like, this is a really nice hookup on the beach in Vietnam, and was having a couple of weird moments because we grew up, Vietnam war, death, pain, negative.
Sure.
And I'm there in Vietnam, and trying to have some respect for, we have relatives and friends and people, and they died and they suffered, and all that stuff, and trying to have the respect for them that were there before me. But on the other hand, having this sort of weird experience, like I'm in this foreign country, I'm in the middle of God knows where, and there's people that are dancing to the music I'm playing. That's so cool. And I look over, and the dudes that are there from the sound company, they're standing on the side of the stage, making sure everything's good, make sure the monitors and the boards and everything are running. And I look down, and I'm trying to think what song I'm playing. Yeah, I'm playing George Harrison, I Got My Mind Set on You, which was a big international hit when it came out.
Sure.
And when you travel the world with music, you realize that it's not just a New York or a local or an American thing. It's worldwide. And this music goes worldwide. So I remember being on tour with the Pt1 Criminals in Greece. We're doing an after show, and the DJ played that song, and the whole place was singing along. And I'm like, wow, I'm in Greece, and everyone's singing that song. And now I'm here in Vietnam, and I'm playing that song because I love it. Every time I DJ, people like hearing the song. And I look over, and there's the Vietnamese guy who speaks zero English, and he's singing along to every word that song. And I'm realizing this is like such a communication tool, music.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And I can't talk to this guy, but I know that he's thrilled and he's happy. And I look over, and he looks up at me, and he gives me the thumbs up, like, you know, we just communicated right there. And it's amazing. So how you can communicate with music around the world. It's like wearing your Iron Maiden shirt all over the world, you know. And you run into your Iron Maiden fan, and there's Iron Maiden, Eddie, 2 minutes to midnight, and they don't know. Some people have told me around when I used to tour with the Pt1 Criminals a lot in Europe, and these people told me that a lot of them said we learned English by listening to music. Yeah. This is how we learned your language. What we know of it, we don't know all of it, and they'll apologize. Oh, I don't speak it too well. I'm like, dude, I just understood what you said. You spoke it great, I can't speak two languages. You just did, so you beat me. But the fact that they communicated, they learned another language through music is amazing. So music's always been magical in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah. Well, I tell people, I said, every human being has 3 things in common, 4 maybe. They're going to die, they need water, they need air, and they have music. Every culture, every human being on the planet, there's some sort of music that they enjoy, and that's the magic of the music, man. Woohoo!
They say music is magic, and musicians are magicians because they create this thing that's really magic.
Sure.
And in the best of ways, or sometimes in the funniest of ways, like to repel people. What was it? The South Park, the episode of the drum circle, and they wanted to get rid of the hippies, so they put on Slayer, and all the hippies are like, dude, this is harshing my vibe, and all the hippies leave. And I was like, just that couldn't be funnier, but couldn't be truer. If you want to get rid of your parents, play something that they don't like, and they will leave you alone.
That is true.
And I've been very, very fortunate to be involved in music over the many years in different ways. Yeah. I never take credit for inventing it or creating it. I've just sent it to you. I've put it in the mail. I've emailed it to you. I've played. When I was working at Important Records in 1985, I sent this package of like a bunch of records. One of them, in fact, I have sitting here. One of them was this record, this Exodus. I sent Classic. Exodus out, and there's another one, Megadeth. Out and Slayer, and this band called Impaler. In fact,
Impaler.
I sent out that record. We got the covers, but we didn't get the vinyl in it. And at the time, I was sending out 6 other records. I'm trying to think of what it was. I think it was like Slayer, Trouble, Exodus. It might have been before the Megadeth record, or it might have been the Megadeth. I'm not sure. But sending out 6 records, and I had like a stack of these record covers. There was nothing to do with them because we didn't have the records. So they would I said, let me just put it in there because the cover of the record was so repulsively amazing. It was fascinating. It was the guy, Bill Lindsay, and he had a piece of liver hanging out of his mouth and blood all over him. And I'm like, this is great. So I sent that out. And so many people, they got the record, but they didn't get the record. So they were fascinated with that record. So they were really like, we got to hear this. We've seen it. And we're enthralled. So we got to hear it. I got a call one time at work from the PMRC,
Wow. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
was that? The Parents Resource Music Committee. And it was Tipper Gore. I'm itching, by the way, here. I'm scratching my face. People, you got a beard. You got a beard. Might not have beards, but we have beards and, a little scratching. So part of me.
They're a living organism that needs to be tamed.
Yes, well put. So I'm working at Important Records, 1985, and I get a phone rings. Hello. Hi, it's so-and-so from the PMRC. Immediately, I'm like, really? Because these are these
really? Get the fuck out of here!
like old grouchy ladies that are ragging on this music that I'm either liking or promoting. And they said, do you guys put out this music and that music? Yeah. It's like, hey, you want me to send you some? Yeah, please. So I sent them all the crazy music that I had. And next thing you know, I'm watching TV sometime, a few weeks later, and there's Tipper Gore, and she's saying how offensive and repulsive and disgusting all this music is and how it needs to be stopped and how it needs to be regulated. And she's holding up all these record covers and holding up all these record covers. And she holds up the Impaler cover. And I'm like, she could have only gotten that from me, man. Oh my God. and it truly was repulsive. And I thought it was in a great way. They were offended by it, but they didn't realize every time they held up a record and they said, this is horrible, every kid in America said, I need to check that out.
That's
wow.
Right.
And, Dee Snider went to Washington and Frank Zappa went to Washington and tried to fight against these people to go, we're artists, we're making music, give us a break. My thought was, you just held up the record that I'm paid to promote on national TV in front of millions of people. I win. The bands that I'm working with now have that attention, that recognition.
Sure.
So it sort of went crazy from there. And speaking of the PMRC, one time I was working at Epic Records, and we had this really cool new band that put out a record in like November of '92, Still in a Room Without a View. And then in the summer of '93, they were on the Lollapalooza tour. They were opening up the Lollapalooza tour. And we had to figure out how to get people down to the Lollapalooza show at 1 PM because most people are going later. And our band has the dubious slot of opening up, which was better than a lot of bands who didn't have the slot of opening up. They were not on the tour. Sure. So we're trying to figure out how to get people down there at 1. So we drive down to Philadelphia, where a lot of music business trade sheets and radio stations are and distributors. It's a big music town.
Oh, yeah.
Big music mob town, big music town in general. And we cooked, me and a few people that I worked with cooked bacon and eggs and on a barbecue in a pan. Sorry, Mike, I ruined your pan years ago. And cooked eggs for people in the parking lot at like 10 in the morning. Told them, come here at 10, come hang out, we'll drink, we'll eat, we'll party. And then at like around 12:30, we'll make our way in. And at 1 o'clock, we're going to go up and towards the stage, get on the floor. We got everyone in, and we're going to see this new band that we have that's been out for a little bit, but you still might have not seen them. They had toured. They had opened up for House of Pain. They had done some touring alone. There's a new band that we had called Rage Against the Machine. So we were still, trying to convince people, come see this band. They're really good. Their selling point, not only did they make a great record, but when you see them live, their live show, their interpretation of their songs live, just blows everyone away. Sure. They were touring their first tour around the country. They did clubs, and every club they did about 90 people. They did 90 people. Maybe in 2 other cities they did 120, but they did 90 people in Philly, 90 people in Boston. They played for 90 people because that's all the only people who heard about it on the late night metal show or on college radio. That's really all the people that heard about it. So the next time they come through town, like 300 people showed up because those 90 people grabbed 2 of their friends and said, you have to come see this band. They're the best band I've seen live ever. They blew me away 3 months ago when I saw them 2 months ago. So now they're playing for 300 people. Those 300 people seen them and they're knocked out, and they grab a friend and they go, next time they play, you got to come see it. And that's how that band, they went out and sweated. They played in vans, they sold cheap merchandise, and they played the best live show you ever saw in your life. I've seen plenty of live shows, and I actually had to apologize for them being great. I brought a radio guy down to see him in New York. He opened for Body Count. Called the guy at WSOU. Yo, Toxic Tommy, what's up? Got this new band. They call it Rage Against the Machine. They're opening for Body Count. Come in and see them. We'll have some dinner. We'll see them. He goes, how are they live? I go, I really don't know. I've never seen them before. I said, the record's great. I've heard good things. I said, the worst case scenario is, we get to see Body Count because they're always good. So I really don't know. It was kind of an undersell, right? I'm not telling them that they're good or anything. But I didn't know. I don't want to be dishonest. Oh, they're great live. And he goes, he's going to go, how do you know? Yeah. I never seen them. I know, so we go there. The band comes on the stage. Bam! It's like a brick hitting you in the head. And Toxic Tommy goes running into the pit. He's gone. He's gone. He's done. He's in there. He's in the pit. Like, half an hour later, he comes flying out of the pit, and he grabs me by my shirt. He goes, why didn't you tell me? I said, I didn't know. And what he meant was, why didn't you tell me that this is like the best band that I've ever seen? And I'm like, I didn't know. I told you I didn't know. And so anyway, after that show, I was like, this is the best thing. I don't got to do anything. I don't got to sell this band. All I got to do is get people to come to the show, and they're touring. So they're bringing it to these people. And my job is to talk to hundreds of radio stations around the country. So, they're coming to Boston. Let me call everyone in Boston, big college town, despite what Spinal Tap says. And come see the band. They're great. You got the record? Yeah. Come see the band. They're great. They're playing in Philadelphia. Come see the band. They're great. You're playing wherever they're playing. Come see the band. They're great. And a lot of times I would fly out and bring these people. I would grab them. Let's go get some food. And I'm dragging your ass to the show. And I'm going to put you right in front of them. And you're going to see them and you're going to be blown away. And none of it was like, I didn't have to do anything. The band was immensely talented, and they played great, and they wrote great music, and they were great musicians. And so it was amazing. All they had to do was bring the person and put them in front of the band. That was all I had to do. And that's all you had to do with that band. So we're back to Philadelphia. It's Lollapalooza. It's 11 in the morning. I'm cooking eggs in the parking lot for these people who work at radio stations and magazines and record stores and all that sort of stuff, the media. So we bring them in, it's 12:30, and we march like 50 people into the JFK Stadium where they did Live Aid. We march them down to the floor, and we march them right up to the front of the stage. And now we're like, this is going to be great, man. These people are going to see Rage Against the Machine. A couple of them had seen them live already, and they knew because they played in Philadelphia. They played at the TLA. They played at Dobbs. They played a few different places. So those people, those 90 people, they knew. So the, handful of people that I brought, they knew that. We saw them already. But the other people didn't see them. They still needed to be convinced. So we bring them in. We put them in front of the stage. There's the big Lollapalooza stage. And it's 1 p.m. And all of a sudden, it's time for Rage Against the Machine to come out. And we're like, this is going to be great. These people are going to be so impressed with our band because they're so talented and they put on such a great live show. And lo and behold, here goes Rage Against the Machine. They walk out on stage. They're completely naked, except they have in black tape, gaffer tape, duct tape. Each one of them had a letter, PMRC. So now I have my four talented, amazing musicians standing there completely naked with a letter, PMRC, and feedback coming out of the speakers. And that was their way of protesting censorship in the United States. And they stood there for 15 minutes with nothing on. Sometimes they're holding their hand in front of their junk, and sometimes they weren't. They were out there. They were naked. And we were right up front there with all our VIPs. And I'm like, oh, I guess we didn't know what was going to happen. Maybe they're going to put their clothes on and play. Like, we didn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know they were going to do this. I thought they were going to be playing live, and all my music VIPs are going to be like, greatest band in the world. Going to play them on my radio show. Going to sell them in my store. I'm going to write an article about them. And lo and behold, they're standing there naked with PMRC written on them, protesting as they would do, be a socially conscious band over their existence. And then the band walks off stage, and I'm like, oh,
oops.
Wow. First of all, didn't want to see him naked. That's just my personal. That's just me. That's just me. You know, if you want to see him naked, that's cool. And I turn around and we start talking to the people that we brought, and I had this one guy who brought his whole family, his children. He brought his young children to the show, and I got an earful from this guy telling me how dare that I be promoting this band, how dare they come out naked, how dare that I subject his children to the image of these band members naked right in front of them on a Sunday morning at 1 in the afternoon, on a Sunday afternoon. How dare I? How dare I? How dare I? And I just looked at him, and I understood it. I wasn't going to be rude to the guy. I just was like, listen, as many times as in my life I've said, I had no clue. I didn't know. I really didn't know. I'm speechless like you. But I hope you give the record a listen, and I hope you're able to come down to the next show. Maybe they won't do this. Maybe they'll do this every show from now on. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, that's my other PMRC story.
That's a pretty good one.
And they and that band, Rage Against the Machine, they turned out to be
and they're coming back.
That's nice. It's really nice that for all the reasons that they weren't around. Now they were going to come back last year, but with the whole COVID virus, this too shall pass. And they'll hopefully come back in a safe situation, and people that are our age that did see them, people that are our age that didn't see them, people that are younger that have heard of them that didn't see them, people that have just heard of them that didn't see them, will be able to experience them live in concert and be moved by their music.
True.
So yeah, you never know. You never know what's going to happen, man.
Yeah. Of all the groups that you worked with in the promo days, who were some of your favorites? Who'd you just love working with?
Let me see. It's funny because I've worked with a lot of. Mostly, I've worked with a good amount of bands. Most bands, I'd say almost all of them were polite and professional, and did the right things when we were introducing them to the media. Because our job was basically to bring people to your show. It's like, you're out there, you're making music. So I'm out there and I'm trying to bring people who are going to turn other people onto your music to your show to hopefully connect with it. You want them to connect, in their own way, and you want them to play the music on the radio or write about it or play their video or whatever it is. And most of the music was heavy, if not so really heavy. And then I've worked with some, other bands. I worked with Tangerine Dream, and I worked with Gene Loves Jezebel. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was interesting. Gene Loves Jezebel is their first record. It came out, I think it was on, I forgot what label it was on, but it was supposed to be picked up by Elektra who had the rights to their Beggars Banquet, right? And whoever in Elektra decided, we don't want to, we don't want that one, so we're going to pass. So at the independent company that I'm at, ended up getting that record to put out. So it's
Relativity,
just, right, Relativity put out as a domestic, The Immigrant, Gene Love Jezebel. It's just new wave band. Sounds like all the stuff I've been listening to on WLIR. It's definitely not like Slayer or Megadeth or Exodus that I'm promoting now. I was like, this is going to be a lot of fun. You know, it had that sort of like a U2 Simple Minds sort of edge. And the record was really good, really good. So Andy Summers, once again, he books their tour. They go out on tour. And every morning, the next morning after a show, I'd get about 3 phone calls. And there were these young girls that were calling about Gene Love Jezebel. I just saw this band in Chicago. Your number was on the record, because on the record on the back it said important records, you know, Jamaica, Queens, and it had a phone number. The only way you could, back then, you can't look up online. There's no online. There's nothing. There's no way to find out who these are. You can't call a promoter. None of these guys really knew. They didn't have any contacts. And then when anybody called for anything that nobody knew about, they would always dump it on me. So when that called, if you weren't calling for, you know, getting signed or getting called for, you know, doing, you know, some sort of sales thing or whatever, it was like, hi, I'm a fan from Cleveland, and I just saw this band Gene Loves Jezebel last night, and they were like, hold on, and they would switch it to me. Mike, somebody, we don't want to deal with it. So I was like, I'll talk to anybody. Why not? So I would get these calls for like, you know, about a month the tour went on. After every show, a couple of young girls, because that's really who liked them, these young girls, were blown away by the band. Blown away. Like, this is like the best thing ever. And they just had that like religious experience. They saw a live concert by an amazing band who looked interesting, who had that modern sound, and they were all that. And they're like, when's this, you know, what's the deal with the band? Oh, we just put a record out. It's out there. Obviously, you know, that's how you got the number. Where are they playing next? And look it up, and oh, you're in Cleveland. Let me see. They're playing, they're headed out west. They're playing Chicago next, and then they're playing, and I read them all the dates and tell them what it is. Okay, I'm going to go with all my friends, and we're going to drive to Chicago. Good luck. Drive carefully. That whole tour, everybody, and I kept calling the booking agent. I go, dude, you got a winner here. We got a winner here. Every night, someone's liking him enough that the next morning they're calling some random number, going, we're going to travel a few hundred miles to see this band. Sure. So it was interesting to sort of, you know, feel that rabid love of a band, of the music. So I don't know where I was.
That's pretty cool. We were just talking about groups that you worked with that.
So anyway, so nice bands and everything. Yeah, so bands I like working with. So Suicidal Tendencies, I got to work with when I was at Epic Records. They put out maybe 3 or 4 records when I was there.
Yeah.
You know, great guys. To this day, I'm still friendly. Mike Muir and Rocky George. And look at Robert Trujillo, who's in Metallica now. You know, so he's done what, played with, you know, went from Suicidal, then played with Ozzy, then played with Metallica, still playing with Metallica. And those guys are all really wonderful, and always gave people a really good experience when we, you know, we as professionals had to bring them backstage, get photos taken with them, set up interviews.
Sure.
Always a good time. Mike was always a great storyteller on stage, and afterwards he was a real gentleman, and he had this real sort of, you know, tough guy, gang looking, you know, LA, you know, maybe an unfriendly look, but then you meet him, and then his manner was that of a true gentleman. So, you know, I think it threw people for a loop, and, you know, people, you know, go, oh, what's he going to be like? And, you know, awesome people. Rocky, you know, always a panic. Robert, you know, one of the nicest people you ever want to meet, Robert Trujillo. You know, when he's taking photos with you, he's very nice, signing autographs and all that sort of stuff. Ozzy Osbourne, just wonderful. And, you know, Sharon was always there for him, always taking care of stuff and always making sure that things were right. And if
Yeah.
something was wrong, she would be up there. Some guy would come up and start bitching. I didn't get to meet Ozzy, and I showed up here. She goes, wait a minute. She would go back and grab him and bring him out. She goes, you okay now? So she, not leaving a stone unturned, she made sure that everyone was happy with everything.
Yeah.
And Ozzy was just very nice. He was a really nice guy, very friendly, has a great sense of humor. He was, he would make jokes. He would see something and he would crack a joke and he would laugh and, great guy. So some of the, the newer bands, Pearl Jam was interesting because initially we were doing meet and greets for them. And at some point they kind of got successful and they decided they just really weren't comfortable with the whole music business thing. They just really weren't. And they, you want the bands to be comfortable, and they just decided that they're going to pick and choose what activities they do. And a lot of it was maybe not meeting as many people as they met early on. When they met early on, they were wonderful. And later on, when they didn't meet people, the few people that we were able to bring to them, they were very nice and pleasant too. They were always very nice to me, always pleasant. That was another one, seeing them. The first time we saw them was in Wetlands, which is a really small, teeny club, and they played in New York. And all the record people went down and saw them, and just blew us away.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of who else was great. Alice Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Alice Cooper! What a great guy. Trying to find his gold record. It's somewhere up there.
You got me into Operation Rock and Roll, that tour, and it was Alice and Motorhead and
yeah, was that up in Middletown or was it in Jersey?
no, at the Meadowlands.
Oh, the Meadowlands. Okay, yeah.
I had gone down to that.
Yeah,
and
it was Alice, Judas Priest, Motorhead, Dangerous Toys, and Metal Church.
That was a great show too. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Dangerous Toys, but it was the whole show. It was really great.
It was a Sony show. It had the dubious distinction of being the least successful tour that year. So
wow.
monetarily, it didn't do well. It was the first year that Lollapalooza happened, so it was in '91. To a bunch of shows, and it was Judas Priest and Alice Cooper were switch headlining slots, and then the other three would get with. It says my internet connection is unstable, so I hope it's not.
Yeah, it was fuzzing up a little bit. You're clear now.
Yeah, let me see. I'm going to move into another room and see what if that helps or not. You never know. Actually, I'm going to plug it in as well. Sometimes plugging it in, I don't know what the hell happens, but we'll see. Well, we'll see what happens.
You got a museum there, man. You should charge admission for people to come in and look at all your stuff.
Yeah, one of those guys that never threw it out. So I have all kinds of stuff.
Did you keep a lot of stuff?
Yeah, I got all my gold records. Oh, I kept everything. I kept all my stuff. I still have cassettes and posters and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. All kinds of groovy stuff.
That's cool, man.
But so the Operation Rock and Roll show, that was we worked with Metal Church, Motorhead, and Alice Cooper. That was on Epic Records, and Columbia Records had Judas Priest and Dangerous Toys.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky enough to be able to go out and see a bunch of those shows. And then we had Alice Cooper anyway when he came, he had a big comeback on that record, record called Trash.
Oh yeah.
He had not been sort of in the charts and on people's minds for a while. And I mean, Alice is just the name Alice Cooper. You knew it since you were a little kid. If you didn't know the music, you know the music, you know the name.
Sure.
So we got to work with him a lot with the Trash record. And he is also one of the nicest, sweetest, kindest, most professional guys out there. You'd go backstage and you would bring, some guys record they own, which could be like 30. You know, I mean, it was a big stack of records.
That would be
He would
me,
sign
yeah.
each one. He took a photo with everyone.
Oh, yeah.
He always had nice things to say to people. His manner was great. So, you know, some of these guys, I was very fortunate. Also, Rob Halford, we worked with him not on Judas Priest, but his solo band. And once again, great guy. I'd be able to bring, you know, when I walk into a place with these guys, it's like, you know, you're walking in with a superstar legend. So it's always a nice, you know, it's always a nice thing to be able to have.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember one time I was in the office, and this is before No More Tears came out. This is still when Ozzy was coming off of No Rest for the Wicked, and he was in town, and he had to go to MTV, and around the halls going,
Oh, lost you there. Lost your audio. Mike. Oh no, have we lost you?
Are you there?
Hey, I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're sounding like a robot and you're frozen.
Oh boy. Well, you know something, we've gone for
I'm
a
gonna
while.
try to go back. I'm gonna restart.
Okay, well, you know, we could, you know, tell you the truth, we've already talked a full show's worth. We can come back on and get you on again, because I want to talk about the Brian Jones movie with you too. You know, all that stuff. But we're having some technical glitches here, so we're gonna stop this one with Mike, and I wanted to have him on again sometime soon in the future, and we'll get things rolling. So thank you so much, Mike. This is great. Look forward to our next show. I don't know when that'll be. Probably next week sometime. Got some interesting people coming on, so hopefully we'll get something rolling then. So, wait a minute. Wait, one person's waiting. Admit. Jim is trying to figure out technical stuff here, people. You don't realize how. Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. So we're not ending with the show then. I was saying goodbye to everybody, but.
No, we'll just, you know, or you could do a 2-part thing and.
Yeah, let's do a 2-part thing, because I'm curious to watch the Brian Jones movie and then talk to you about it from there, about like your participation and what the movie what it talks about in there. So I'm very curious.
Yeah, I could talk about there's all the couple of docs I worked with, and then the spaghetti westerns that I've worked with.
That's right. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. Your acting. Jesus Christmas, man. We got a lot to talk about here. So we'll have you on again in a few weeks, man.
Yeah, if you want to do that, right now, I'll go on the email. I'll send you the links. You can watch the film. You can watch the bonus stuff, and you know, you could and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Mike Schnapp, always a pleasure talking to you. You're always a fascinating guy. You always got such great things to say. Hello, can you hear me?
This internet thing is so it just doesn't work.
Well,
I'm gonna turn on it.
It happens. Wait a minute.
It's working now.
All right.
Okay. So I'm gonna email the Jones stuff. And I know I also have one for the Sid Vicious one. So.
Oh, hey, that's cool.
And you're not there.
We're gonna have Mike Schnapp on again. Links. If you got questions for Mike, you can even message me, you know, on Facebook or through YouTube, and I'll pass on the questions along to him. He's a fascinating guy. He's been doing rock and roll forever. It's in his blood. It's in his blood. It's all over the place. Look, see, he's a big mush there from the internet. It's so much in his blood. So thank you, Mike. We will have you on again soon. You be well, stay healthy, stay safe.